Hello everyone, we are live and virtually connecting to New Orleans and the OLC Innovate Conference for 2017. So I'm going to go straight over to On-Site for their introductions, please.
Hi, I'm Michael Berman and I'm the On-Site buddy today. And this is a thrilling and historic occasion because as we'll see, we've got quite a worldwide participation today, but welcome to New Orleans, where we're very excited to be here for OLC Connecting. And let me briefly introduce our guests here, and then I'll let Wendy take us around and bring in our virtual guests, and then we'll start our conversation. So let me introduce Patrice Prusko.
Hi, I'm Patrice Prusko. I'm an instructional designer at Cornell University. And at OLC Innovate, I'm the chair of the Solution Design Summit, which I'm really excited to talk with you about today.
And Lora Taub-Pervizpour.
Hi everyone, I'm Lora. I'm the Associate Dean for Digital Learning at Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and had the pleasure of collaborating with Patrice as one of the planning committee members for SDS at OLC Innovate.
And I'll just mention briefly, we'll bring him in the conversation in a minute, but we also have Cindy Richard here helping to coordinate here on site, and is going to be the on-site buddy for some of the other sessions, and also Kyle Johnson's hanging out with us too. So, but he's hiding in the corner, so because he's shy and introverted.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to have you. Well, we're going to go over straight to our other special guests because we have our VIPs in London. Please introduce yourself.
Hi guys. It's Autumn and Mena and Hoda here at the OER 17 conference about 9 o'clock at night. So the conference is over, but we're hanging out in a restaurant that's trying to close.
We're just having dinner and we realized that it's 9 o'clock and it's time for this. So we're staying until they close, which is very soon. So we're hoping to hang out with you guys a little bit, and happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Michael.
And to Virtually Connecting.
And to Virtually Connecting. 2 years.
Great. Thank you very much. We'll go over to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Wilson. I'm in Oakland, California, and I'm retired and a student in our 2-year community colleges.
Thanks, Mark. And Yinhua?
Hi, I'm Yin, and I'm an instructional designer at University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. I work on online programs with the Business College of Business. Yes.
Great. Nice to see you again, Yin. And Wendy? The other Wendy? If you can just, that's right.
Yeah, hi, I'm Wendy Freeman. I work at Ryerson University. I'm the director of e-learning and also an instructional designer and a faculty member.
Nice to meet you. And AK?
Hello everyone, my name is AK. I am coming to you today from the University of Massachusetts, Boston, Applied Linguistics Department. I wear many hats, but my home, my employment home is the Applied Linguistics Department.
Great. And just a brief introduction, my name's Wendy Tallio. I'm your virtual buddy for this session and beaming to you from Central Australia. I'm very happy to be connected with OLC Innovate in this way. So back to you on site, and let's hear a bit about the conference on day one.
Thank you, Wendy. Thanks for everyone for being here. I'm just going to start things off with Patrice and Lora. And then we definitely want to make sure that those of you online have a chance to engage in conversation with them and ask them questions. So after they have a chance to tell you a little about what we're doing, then we'll open the floor for questions. But Patrice and Lora, you've organized a Solution Design Summit. I think this is the second or third year for that. So tell us a little bit about what that is and what plans you got and how it's going so far.
So this is the second year that we've done the Solution Design Summit. And we did a call for proposal where teams would submit a challenge that they're having on campus, and we really encouraged interdisciplinary teams that pulled in people from across campus. And we were lucky to get 8 amazing teams that are here with us. And this year we have a community college team, which is awesome addition to our schedule. And so before the teams even come to OLC, they start working by creating a 2-minute pitch video, which if you go to the OLC Innovate YouTube channel, you can see the pitch videos for the teams. And we ask people in the community to give them feedback on their pitches before they even get here. And when they arrive, they start 8:30 a.m. They hit the ground running with a 3-hour workshop. And the first part of the workshop is spent just having them develop critical success factors. And during that time, we have what we term experts, people that come in to talk with them, help them brainstorm, and basically go through the design thinking process. And then at the end of the session, they do a practice run of their pitch. And we really, try to help them think about what is the effect of the problem they're working on? Why does it matter? Why should people care? Who are the stakeholders? What's meaningful to them? How will they measure success? What does success look like? I think all those things we know we're supposed to think about, but we just don't usually have the time. And that's the feedback that we really get across the board is some of these teams have been working on these challenges for a year or more, and they will say they made more progress in 30 minutes than they have in that time. Because on our campuses, we just don't have that time to thoughtfully think about what we're doing because we're so busy running from meeting to meeting and answering email. And I think the added value of having somebody else there who can kind of help them think about it. And we really stress that it's just a safe space for thoughtful failures. We really encourage them to think big and broad and crazy, get messy, have a lot of fun, and do a lot of failing. And having people like Lora, who were participants last year, be on the planning committee this year has been really great to inform a lot of what we do. So I think Lora can speak to what it's like being on both sides of the fence, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I came here last year with a team of 5 colleagues from across my campus. Even before we got here, we posted our video pitch on Twitter, and actually Maha gave really great suggestions that even before we arrived to get to work, we started rethinking some of the key principles in our project. So once we arrived here, I can't even describe the feeling of being in a room with a group of people who, most of whom I'd never ever met. Environment. The whole day is structured around what can we do to support these really diverse teams coming from really, really diverse campuses. What can we do to support them wherever they currently are to help them along the path towards where they're trying to get? So the other side of it, trying to offer that support, offer a kind of critical but really positive feedback to these teams has been really wonderful to be a part of. And again, I left here last year thinking we need to do this on our own campuses. It's only reinforced for me today. Our work is for people to come together and think creatively about where they want their campuses to be moving.
The teams were sharing, what their challenge was and what their success factors were. Everybody very quickly realized, we have people who are from Mexico doing a virtual high school. We have people from community colleges, from different socioeconomic areas. And the challenges that they're facing across the board had such similarities. Looking at, how do we sustain this? How do we get buy-in? There's a lot of cross population as well. And we'd love to have your questions, ideas, thoughts.
I just like what you said about a safe space for failing. And you just said that a lot of the challenges are the same. Do you see the failings the same? In the same vein?
Oh no, I think you can fail in many, many unique ways.
Yeah. I think that a lot of the teams did a 180 though, where they came in thinking like, this is the problem and this is the solution. And at the end of the 3 hours, we had teams say that, they said, I've never done so many mental pivots, in an hour. And we did have one team who, they did a really, really nice job of telling their pitch as a 3-act play. It was really engaging, and at the end, what I really loved was how honest and transparent they were. At the end, they said, and finally we realized that we were solving the wrong problem and that we are the problem. So it was really a very
Folks, sorry to interrupt, but we have to go because they're closing down over here.
Thanks for joining in.
We're gonna watch the rest of the recording. Talking.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And so I think, right, like what Kyle said is true. I mean, there's a million ways to fail, but I think the beauty of it was that they just kind of like let go of what they came in with and were open to doing that pivot. And in some cases, just having to rethink everything that they've been, their entire approach.
So this is different from the Shark Tank approach, where people kind of work on their own, and then they get up in a very public way, they get feedback. This is a much more a supportive and humane kind of a process, I think.
Yeah. And I think, another thing, both I think, Lora and Tracy Stunts, who's another member of our team and participated last year, they both commented about how they've stayed in contact with the people that came in to kind of help them with their problem. That like throughout this whole year, they have stayed in contact and they've maintained those relationships. That's another great outcome of it, is that.
So I had a question.
Please, AK, go.
Patrice, you mentioned that even though many people were coming from a lot of different angles, you noticed that there were some common challenges. Can you elaborate a little more about what some of the more common challenges were?
I think one of them I heard the most was, how do we sustain this? We have this idea and we're going to implement this, but how do we sustain it? And that meant different things to each team, but I think that was one of the things that I heard across the board, as there's others that.
Yeah, another common challenge that several teams spoke about was engagement. Like, we're good at offering workshops and sessions and tutorials and class visits, but how do we engage people who aren't already interested in thinking about how to teach and learn with these technologies? How do we engage more faculty? How do we engage more students? And how do we engage people at a more intentional, critical level?
Yeah, and there was a lot of discussion about a lot of people talked about student success, and that meant something different, I think, to each of the groups, how they defined student success. But that was a helpful point for them, because a lot of them would just, a lot of people throw that term around, like, we're doing this to improve student success. Well, like, what does that look like? What does that mean? And so in many cases, that was the space where they really took a step back and thought, what does that mean? And what I really appreciated, one of the teams from SUNY Brockport, who is doing something on refreshing online. So they've already gone through the process of faculty development, having them create online courses, but then kind of what's that next step? How do we get them to refresh and update and think a little bit more broadly? And she talked a lot about how they're incorporating the student voice. They're going out and they're talking to students and they're trying to understand how are students experiencing the courses as we've designed them using this, rubric that we've been given. And is this rubric the right tool that we should be using? Are there things that we should remove? Are there things that we should add? And so that was a really important piece. I was really glad that she brought that in.
Great. Mark or Yin or Wendy, or we have Miriam now on the, do we have somebody else join us? Somebody?
Yes, we got Miriam. If you want to just test your audio, introduce yourself quickly to the to everyone?
Yes,
unmute
hi, everybody. I just had some trouble connecting. My name is Miriam. I run a consultancy where I talk about educational technology, and I'm joining in from Lahore, Pakistan. Just really excited to be here, and to you, Wendy, and everybody else.
Great, thank you. Is there any other questions from around the board? Go,
I have
Yin.
a question. So this idea sounds interesting to me, and I'm thinking of submitting something maybe for the next conference. So I wanted to know, like, what metrics do you use to select teams? How do you evaluate them on their design thinking and their creativity?
So we do have a, there we go, the word rubric. We do have a rubric that we use to assess the proposals. And one of the things we look at is, you know, first of all, do they have a challenge? I mean, so that one of the hurdles that we have to get over is make sure that people understand this isn't a presentation. You know, they're not there to say, oh, we had this problem, we solved it, and this is what we did. That they're really coming with the challenge and, you know, need to brainstorm solutions. Have they clearly defined their challenge? We look for creativity in what they're doing. Have they given some thoughts to solutions? And is it an interdisciplinary team? For example, we don't necessarily want all faculty from economics. It's great to have an instructional designer, a faculty member, a librarian, a dean. So those are some of the kind of the key things that we look at. And an area that we want to work on next year is getting more proposals, because that was one space where we, you know, we would have liked to have had more of a selection. So I think we need to get the word out more about what we're doing, and you know why, you know, and I think having the teams share like what a great experience it was for them will probably be the best way to get that word out.
How big are the teams?
So in one case, we only have one team member physically here, but I would say most of the teams are 3 to 5 people. We have some teams who have a virtual participant, so you know they brought them in via Zoom or whatever they're using. And last year we had a team where, you know, the one person was here and they had the Kobe going, you know.
Because I would think that getting 3 or 5 people here is a real challenge for a lot of institutions. The travel cost, even if it was free to come here. So.
Yeah, and so that's where what we were actually hoping this year. We had one team who couldn't physically travel here, and we were going to have them be a virtual team, which would have been really awesome. But then we ran up against that. Even though they were a virtual team, they had to register as virtual participants. And where the university that they were at has a complete stop on any type of conferences, so we couldn't even do that. So that's where, like, we do have, you know, a couple of teams where, you know, only, you know, 1 or 2 or 3 people are physically here and the rest are coming in virtually. But doing a fully virtual team is definitely an option. It's just at least one person has to be a registrant at the conference.
Well, that'd be an interesting question for LC is see if maybe a vendor would step up and sponsor it, so that you know, do that or something like that.
That is an awesome idea.
You know, so if you were selected, that you could guarantee at least one free participant, either in person or remote, something like that.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, kind of an SDS scholarship.
Yeah.
And I would have thought with the option this year of having, you know, a real like a set program for virtual participation, that would have been perhaps easier to have virtual teams, because, for example, I'm a registered virtual participant with OLC, so I'll be joining in some sessions and participating in other ways. So in theory, I could have been a virtual team.
Yeah, and I think we need to market that. Honestly, like, I hadn't really even considered that until this one team couldn't attend, and then we said, well, like, there's no reason why we couldn't do a fully virtual team. So I think that's another thing we'll have to get the word out more about.
But it also takes some good planning to get the room set up where they're going to pitch and so forth, so that they can hear and so forth.
Yeah.
Yin, you had some other questions, I think?
So I'm really interested in what you might consider as a really creative pitch that you've heard so far. What is one example of a really creative pitch you've heard so far?
I actually really love, we have this year a group pitching, in essence, a pitch competition. So it's, for me, it's like very meta. So their idea is to have this thing they're calling Pitch LX, and they're gonna do at their institution sort of what we're doing with the Solution Design Summit. So I think that's really interesting because again, it's that idea of enabling. So we help them figure out how to do it well. And then if they can do it well at their institution, then maybe we can figure out how to do it at more institutions. So that to me was one of the most interesting, like you would never think of that. And they didn't even realize it until they got here. They like, we didn't realize that we're pitching a pitch at a pitch competition.
Very, very meta.
Yeah, so that's my favorite.
I'll add another one. I mean, every one of them is just is so creative. But one from a community college team. It was really just in the course of our conversation, asking questions, having an exchange, that one of the participants said, well, you know, we want people to come to our trainings and our workshops. We want to go to where they are. Like, I know that there's a food truck in my neighborhood, and I can look up online where that food truck is, and I'm going to go to that food truck because I love the lobster rolls. I will go anywhere to find that food truck. And they began talking about the food truck as a metaphor for the kind of technology training and development that they want to bring to faculty and students. What would it look like if all of your education around technology and digital pedagogies and tools was sort of organized in the way a food truck gets organized? The mobility, the freshness, that sense of wherever it is, I'm going to go there because it's important to me.
And I'll just add one that I was creative. I don't know if everybody's familiar with pub crawl, but of course that's when you go bar to bar crawling. And so part of their pitch is something that they call a tech crawl, and I think it's similar to that. Is again, gaining empathy for your users and understanding what's important to them. What are things that they are going to relate to? And I think that's where we miss the mark a lot of times.
Cool. So I have another question, if you don't mind. So the word or the phrase design thinking is tossed around a lot these days. And I want to understand what your thinking is on this phrase because it's used so commonly. Is there a model that you're using, or how would you explain design thinking from your end?
So the model that we use for this is based around the Stanford model, where first it's about gaining empathy for the user. And again, understanding what do they value, what's important to them, and really, not listening to the story, but listening for the story. What are their fears? How do they feel about things? Then defining the problem, what is the point of view of your user? And then, getting into the iterating, prototyping, the yes and big idea. What if you had $1 million and 100 people that were your support staff, with no boundaries, what would you want to do? Prototyping and testing.
Okay, thanks.
So one of the things that we're hoping come of these sessions is these teams go back to their campuses, implement some of these things, and then share back. Like Laura's is presenting tomorrow on what they've done over the last year. And so I think that's a really important piece is that OLC takes advantage of is having these teams come back, give webinars, share out what they're doing, and almost like a trained trainer.
Great. Miriam, do you have a question? Miriam, do you have a question?
Sorry, just try it again, Mariam. Just
You're muted now.
unmute. Yeah. Unmute.
Oh, sorry. So I had one question regarding how come a teaming in community college. Is this OLC is kind of new conference, or is it just because it's the first time that you were able to reach out to community colleges? Is something unique?
Well, I'll let you go. I know, so OLC had a community college summit this year, so they're definitely trying to bring more community colleges into the conversation. And so because of that, summit, we actually, specifically reached out to community colleges to try to have some of those teams participate with us. And Laura ran a session with them today.
Right. And some of what we've seen, Miriam, are collaborations, partnerships between universities, colleges, and community colleges, thinking about ways that those partnerships can help address challenges at both partnering institutions. We also have the group from UNAM in Mexico is partnering with a virtual high school. So there's definitely also K through 12 representation.
Oh wow, that's interesting. That's very interesting. The metaphor, to be honest, I think that was fantastic, and just learning a lot from this conversation.
Great, thank you, Miriam. I want to check with Mark and Wendy from Ryerson. Do either of you have a question? We've got about 5 minutes left.
Hi, it's Wendy. I guess I think you sort of answered it, but one of the things, it all sounds really great, and we're going to try and do something locally here. But I was wondering about follow-up. So doing presentations at their own institutions makes a lot of sense, but are you setting up anything for the teams to continue to share their successes?
So that is not something formally that we have done so far, but it's actually something that we're going to talk about at the end of this summit, and thinking about, like, would we want to set up a Slack channel where the teams can continue to communicate, or maybe have a monthly, quarterly, I'm not sure, check-in with the teams. So if anyone has thoughts or suggestions, definitely share them with us, because that's, I think, something that last year was really just all about figuring this thing out. What is it going to look like? What are we going to do? And so now I think that would be a great addition, is to build that community.
And just as one of the teams that participated last year, we've had ongoing outreach to us based on that presentation last year, based on the things we posted on Twitter and at OLC. A number of institutions contacting us just to follow up and hear more, and in some cases ask us to come on as consultants on a grant to develop a similar kind of project at their institution. So it's definitely, being here not only benefited our team in our thinking about the work ahead, but it also benefited us by putting us in contact with people that we otherwise would not have likely encountered. So that's been really, really beneficial.
And I know Laura and one other team from last year, I invited to do a Zoom call with my team on campus to share what they had done. So again, that's something that maybe if we work with OLC, that could be an event that they market so that it can reach even more, more universities.
Great.
That's great. Is there any other last questions?
Yeah, I'd like to hear a bit more about the community college participation, and who would I contact either at OLC or wherever to get more information.
Do you mean in general at the conference, or specific to the summit?
The summit. Yeah, the summit and the projects.
Well, all of the projects are listed online, so I would encourage you to look at schedule, which then links to the pitch from the community college team, and they have a pitch video also that's accessible, and you might reach out to the team itself if you're interested in the work they're doing. I'm pretty sure that they would welcome the outreach.
And you can reach out to any of us if you want more information about the Solution Design Summit.
All right, thank you.
Great. Well, Wendy, you want to take us home and wrap this up?
Yeah, no problems. Thank you very much, everyone, for a really interesting hangout and to hear a little bit about what's been happening day one. So we've got 5 more sessions for virtually connecting, and I know Sundi will be involved in that. So we look forward to hearing a bit more and seeing how the conference pans out. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll stick around for a few minutes after we close the live session, but at this time we'll go ahead and let Wendy do the honors. And thank you all so much for joining us from New Orleans and having participants from 4 continents. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
so thank
pretty
you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.